Hello everyone, this is a Gamewell-FCI Identiflex 100 fire alarm control panel. These were first introduced in the early 2010s and are a direct rebrand of the Silent Night 5600. The Identiflex 100 is part of the short-lived HFS series, which introduced new detectors and modules under a slightly modified FlashScan adjustable protocol. The HFS panel, a Silent Night 5600, can hold up to 25 adjustable points, grouped into 5 software zones. It was rebranded under other companies, such as Firelight as the MS-25, Notifier as the NSP-25, Silent Night as the IFB-25, and Gamewell-FCI as the GIF-100. While the original panels used the HFS detectors and modules, these would eventually be updated to use their respective companies' adjustable protocols. Firelight and Notifier used Lightspeed, Silent Night used SK or IDP, and Gamewell-FCI used Velocity. All HFS panels would feature built-in strobe synchronization and a built-in alarm communicator. So let's jump right into this. For this demonstration, the Identiflex 100 will be using Velocity devices. On the table, we have an MS7AF pulse station, an ASD PL2F smoke detector, an MS7S pulse station with an AMM2F monitor module, and a wheel-lock exceeder HSR horn strobe. Down here, we have an AMM2IF dual monitor module. Connected to it are a Gamewell Sentry M46-29 pulse station and a system sensor 4WITIRB 4-wire smoke detector with an isolated heat sensor and sounder. The signal is a wheel-lock exceeder STR strobe, and there is also an ANN80 LCD annunciator. Each adjustable device is connected to its own zone, as seen on the annunciator, and this dual monitor module is split between 2 zones for each device. So let's start with this pulse station. And alarms are silenced. So 1 is an alarm. NAC 1 was active and is powering both signals. NAC 2 was not active. It's being used to power the I3. So let's test this smoke with some spray. Now zones 2 and 3 are an alarm. The devices have been activated. For a panel that uses what's basically FlashScan protocol, which is very fast, this panel is on the slower side, and its behavior is similar to that of the other 5000 series Silent Night panels like the 5700. Now let's activate this pulse station, and we can silence from the annunciator. Something interesting with this panel and other 5000 series Silent Night panels is the LED on modules will shut off when the device is clear. So if we reset this, the LED goes back to normal. And even on re-alarm, it lights up again, but the signals don't sound again. Same behavior on this pulse station. Reset this too while we're here. Now let's test this smoke detector. It's programmed as a supervisory point, so it won't sound the signals, but the sounder on the detector itself will activate. And since the heat is isolated, it's the only component that can alarm the system. So, hair dryer. There's a few functions here on the keypad. We'll start with drill, press and hold. There's also a walk test. That puts the panel into test mode. We activate the device, and it'll sound the signals for a few seconds. If it's in walk test, we can just reset again. And back to normal. The Identiflex 100 and its rebrands are a cross between adjustable panels like the SoundKnife 5700 with its associated devices, and conventional panels like the SoundKnife SK4224 with its LED layout. Inside, there is a dress panel, and behind the door is a basic wiring diagram along with some basic information about the panel. Behind the dress panel, there's the circuit board and keypad display, the transformer, which AC connects to directly, and a harness for the batteries. There's a bunch of terminals at the bottom of the circuit board. At the left here is the S-Bus terminals for the in and ED annunciator. Similar to the Firelight A&M bus, there's a pair of wires for power and another pair for communications. Next to it is the SLC loop. This is a Class B only loop. Many other adjustable panels will also offer a Class A circuit. There's two signal circuits. Each one can be configured for signaling or for auxiliary power. Next, there's a treble relay and two programmable relays. And finally, some smaller terminals for the communicator. The keypad display is similar to that of older SoundKnife conventional panels, featuring some trouble indicators, as well as LEDs for alarm, supervisory, and trouble for each of the zones. Each of the zones and the signal circuits have disable buttons, some arrow keys, and basic operator controls. The jumpstart function is essentially an auto program, and other SoundKnife panels use this same function. This just allows the panel to search for any devices on its SLC loop, as well as any annunciators on its S-Bus terminals. Walk, test, and drill were shown before. And these ID buttons indicate the exact device that was either in alarm, supervisory, or trouble. And the numbers are displayed on this segmented display here. The same display is also used to indicate any troubles on the system. Right here is the Ethernet port for connecting a PC to the panel. This panel uses a web-based interface to make any programming changes. With a PC connected, the panel will automatically generate an IP address which the computer can connect to make programming changes. So here is the programming interface for the HFS series panels, including the Identiflex 100. Its layout and options are very similar to that of the mainline addressable SoundKnife panels like the 5700, but it's a web interface and more simplified. So the system summary just goes over the basic installed points on the system, the zone descriptions, and the IP address, software, and so forth. And there's a button to print the point table. Next is system options. So there's an option to keep the sync strobes active when silenced, basically audible silence, silence reset inhibit, water flow delay, the installer access code. This is primarily for the jumpstart programming. Alarm verification time, auto test report time, low AC report delay, walk test reporting, walk test duration, walk test NAC timeout, that's just how long the NACs sound for every walk test activation, clock source, the power line frequency, auto daylight savings, up to 2 remote annunciators, and the banner for the remote annunciator. that's been set already. The panel's time can also be set. It just takes from the PC. Next is zone programming. This is where points are added, as well as general options for each zone. So if we check zone 1, there's only one device on it, and it's the manual pull station. But there's also detectors or some kind of contact switch, usually water flow. So this panel supports the basic photoelectric, heat, and combination detectors. Nothing crazier than that. Supervisory points, there's one on zone 4. The options are slightly different. They could be a mini module option, and the supervisor could be latching or non-latching. So this panel does use the full 159 addresses, but each of the addresses are grouped into different zones depending on what address it is. So zone 1 goes from 1 to 15 on the alarm side, and zone 2 goes from 21 to 35 and so forth. And each zone has its own options. Zone 1 is silenceable, and that applies to all the zones. There's a type, there's one count or alarm verification. One count just means there's no verification. And then there's a name for each of the zones, which shows on the enunciator. Next is output programming. This is where the relay modules are assigned. So these take up some of the higher level addresses and for each zone. So there's alarm, supervisory, trouble. There's general relays for alarm, supervisory, trouble, and trouble system zone. And then some other system conditions like alarm silence, trouble silence, AC loss, resettable aux power, and door holder. Next is NAC programming. This panel has two signal circuits. So the first signal circuit is a conventional NAC, and there's mapping options. So each zone can be mapped to this circuit. Alarm is supervisory, and then a cadence pattern. Constant on, which is continuous, ANSI, which is temporal coding, and then Gentex, AMSECO, system sensor, and wheel lock sync. Alternatively, as seen with signal circuit 2, it can also be used as just aux power, constant door holder, or resettable. So signal circuit 2 is being used as a resettable source for the 4-wire i3 detector. Next is relay programming. There are two programmable relays on the Identiflex 100. They can be either general supervisory, general alarm, or they can be aux resettable door holders. And then there's also general relay operation. It can be silenceable or non-silenceable. Next is dialer programming for the built-in communicator. So there's two phone lines. You have a prefix, dial tone detection, line monitoring, the dialing option, and the pulse dialing format. The dialer is not being used in this panel, so line monitoring is disabled for both. There's also two accounts that could be added in, account number, phone number, the format, and the report filters. There's a tab for detector status. Any addressable detectors on the system can report its status to the programming interface. So there's only one detector on this system, and that's the ASD PL2F. The i3 doesn't count here. So it's a photoelectric detector, its sensitivity value, and a couple other values that are explained with the legend down here. And it is normal. The last two options are external links. Mapping table just opens up a basic summary of the system. And quick tips is pretty much a manual on how to operate the panel and the programming interface. Once all programming changes are made, click the download to panel button. The panel restarts and changes are saved. And that's pretty much how the web-based programming works on the HFS series panels. And that is all for the Gamewell-FCI Identiflex 100. This and other HFS panels did not have a very long lifespan. These will be discontinued by the late 2010s, being replaced with existing and eventual future small adjustable panels. The smallest successor to this panel is the GWF-7075, which is a rebrand of the Fahrenheit IFP-75 fire alarm panel. Nowadays, the HFS panels, detectors, and modules are rather uncommon. While these panels had a very small point capacity, they still provided the same features as modern adjustable panels from the time period. Its simplicity makes it one of the easiest adjustable panels to program, as well as one of the smallest. Therefore, if you happen to acquire one of these panels, they make for excellent demonstration systems or as a beginner adjustable fire alarm panel. Despite their short lifespan, the HFS series panels provide a unique combination of conventional and adjustable fire alarm systems. In any case, if you have any questions or comments on the Identiflex 100, feel free to post them below. But until next time, have a nice day.